Bruno Mars has just turned an already massive stadium tour into an even bigger global event, announcing 26 new 2027 shows across Australia, New Zealand, and Asia, while also adding another Mexico City performance. The expansion pushes the romantic tour beyond its original 2026 run and into a sweeping international schedule that now stretches deep into May 2027. For fans who thought the tour had already reached its limit, the latest announcement delivers a very different message. The demand is still growing, and the scale of the response has forced the tour to grow with it. The new announcement covers some of the biggest entertainment markets in the world. Japan will host the opening 2027 shows in January, followed by Australia and New Zealand in February and March. Then the tour moves through Singapore, Thailand, Taiwan, Hong Kong, the Philippines, and South Korea before reaching its current scheduled conclusion at Goyang Stadium on May 26, 2027. There is another important detail buried inside the announcement. Alongside the 26 new stadium dates, a fifth Mexico City performance has been added at Estadio GNP Seguros for December 11, 2026. That means the latest expansion is even broader than the headline number initially suggests. The timing is significant. The romantic tour was already one of the most ambitious concert runs of Bruno Mars's career. It marked his first full headline tour in nearly a decade and his first full stadium tour. But instead of slowing down as the schedule became larger, the demand has continued to push the production into new territories. And the numbers explain why. When tickets for the romantic tour first went on sale earlier this year, the response was extraordinary. Live Nation reported the largest single-day ticket sales in its history across North America, Europe, and the United Kingdom. Ticketmaster also recorded 2.1 million tickets sold in a single day, creating another major sales milestone. That demand immediately changed the shape of the tour. Additional dates were added in major American and European markets. Cities that had originally been scheduled for one or two performances suddenly became multi-night destinations. Los Angeles, East Rutherford, Toronto, Vancouver, London, and other markets saw the schedule expand as ticket demand continued to outperform expectations. Then came the international question. Could the same demand continue outside North America and Europe? The latest announcement appears to answer that question. Japan receives multiple stadium dates in January. Nagoya, Sapporo, Saitama, Osaka, Fukuoka, and Tokyo are all included. The Japanese run begins January 4th and continues through January 28th, giving fans across several major cities multiple opportunities to see the production. After Japan, the tour heads south. The Australian leg begins February 13th at Optus Stadium in Perth. Melbourne follows with 2 nights at Marvel Stadium, while Brisbane receives a performance at Suncorp Stadium. Sydney gets 2 nights at Accor Stadium on March 4th and 5th. The Australian and New Zealand portion then concludes at Auckland's Eden Park on March 13th. But even that is not the end. After a short break, the tour returns to Asia for a concentrated run of stadium performances. Singapore receives 4 nights at National Stadium beginning April 13th. Bangkok follows with 2 nights at Rajamangala Stadium. Kaohsiung receives 2 shows, while Hong Kong gets 4. Manila then hosts 2 performances at Philippine Arena before the tour closes its current 2027 leg with 4 nights at Goyang Stadium in South Korea. The geography alone tells the story. This is no longer simply an American stadium tour that happens to travel internationally. It is becoming a genuinely global touring operation, with major stadium engagements spread across multiple continents and some of the world's most important concert markets. And there is another reason the announcement matters. The supporting lineup is changing depending on the region. Tyla, the 2-time Grammy-winning South African singer, will join the Australia and New Zealand dates as a special guest. Anderson Paak, Mars's longtime collaborator and Silk Sonic partner, will continue appearing as DJ P.We on the newly announced shows. That combination gives the international leg its own identity. Anderson Paak brings the energy and musical chemistry fans already associate with Silk Sonic. Tyla adds a younger global pop presence and a distinctly different sound to the Australia and New Zealand shows. The result is more than a simple extension of the calendar. It is an expansion of the overall experience. Perhaps the most revealing part of the story, however, comes from the people closest to the production. In a Polestar interview earlier this year, Mars explained what he wanted from the album and the tour in unusually direct terms. "When I was making this album, The Romantic, I knew these songs were meant to be heard and felt live," he told Polestar. That sentence helps explain why the tour has become so large. The Romantic was not designed simply as a collection of songs to be played through speakers. The project was built with performance in mind. And the tour gives those songs a much larger stage. The production itself reflects that ambition. Polestar reported that the tour travels with a production crew of roughly 95 people, alongside an A-B party of 20 and 32 production trucks. There are also rotating steel systems supporting the massive stadium operation. That kind of infrastructure makes a tour this large difficult to expand. Every additional city requires transportation. Every stadium requires local crews. Every performance requires equipment, rehearsals, scheduling, hotels, security, ticketing, and venue coordination. So when new shows are added, it is not simply a matter of putting another date on a poster. It means moving an entire traveling machine. That is why the latest expansion is so revealing. The tour's team is clearly willing to take on that complexity because the market is strong enough to justify it. Aaron O'Hara, Mars's manager, offered a simple explanation for the connection between the artist and his audience. "If I could explain it, it wouldn't be magic," O'Hara told Polestar. He went on to emphasize Mars's commitment to making sure every person in the stadium has a great experience. That may be the key to understanding the unusual longevity of the demand. Mars has built a career around music that works in multiple environments. His songs can live on radio, streaming platforms, dance floors, wedding playlists, sports arenas, and massive stadium stages. His audience is also unusually broad. Older fans recognize the funk, soul, R&B, and pop influences that shaped his sound. Younger listeners have discovered him through streaming, collaborations, viral performances, and newer songs. That creates an audience capable of filling stadiums across generations. The live show reinforces that connection. The current setlist moves through different chapters of his career, including songs from The Romantic, major solo hits, and a Silk Sonic section. Live Nation's published setlist also shows performances of songs such as 24K Magic Treasure, That's What I Like, Leave the Door Open, Marry You, Locked Out of Heaven, Just the Way You Are, and Uptown Funk. That structure is important because it transforms the concert into more than an album tour. It becomes a career celebration. For American audiences watching the story unfold, there is also a familiar part of the tour still ahead. The 2026 schedule continues through major U.S. stadiums, including Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Foxborough, Indianapolis, Tampa, New Orleans, Miami, San Antonio, Colorado Springs, Los Angeles, and Santa Clara, before moving through Vancouver and Mexico City. That means the American leg is still unfolding even as the international future of the tour is being revealed. And that creates an unusual situation for fans. Some American concertgoers are still waiting for their chance to see the show, while fans in Asia and the Southern Hemisphere are already looking toward 2027. The announcement also gives the tour a new sense of momentum. When the Romantic tour was first revealed, the major story was that Mars was finally returning to the road after nearly a decade away from an extensive headline tour. Then came the ticket sales record. Then the additional dates. Then the sold-out stadium performances. Now the tour is expanding into another year. At every stage, the story has become larger. Polestar's May cover story described the tour as a sprawling stadium production and noted that the demand was so strong that additional shows were being added in real time. Tour producer Jared Braverman said the response surpassed even the team's expectations, describing the global reaction as reaching another level entirely. That is perhaps the most important detail in the entire announcement. The expansion was not simply planned from the beginning. It was shaped by demand. And that distinction matters. A tour can be large because an artist team decides to make it large. But when additional stadium dates are repeatedly added because audiences continue buying tickets, the scale tells a different story. It becomes a measurement of public interest. The Romantic Tour is now scheduled to cross Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia, East Asia, and South Korea, while maintaining its 2026 North American and Mexico City schedule. According to Polestar, the new dates push the overall tour beyond 115 stadium concerts worldwide. That figure puts the announcement into perspective. 26 new dates may sound like a simple headline. But 26 additional stadium shows require an enormous amount of logistical confidence. It suggests that promoters believe demand will remain strong far beyond the initial wave of excitement surrounding the album and the tour's launch. It also suggests something about the artist himself. After years away from a traditional global headline tour, Mars has returned at a moment when stadium touring is increasingly becoming a competition for attention. Major artists are competing for the same venues, the same calendar windows, and the same entertainment dollars. Yet the Romantic Tour continues to find room to grow. And that is what makes this announcement more than another tour update. It is a statement about where Mars stands in the live music business right now. The artist is not simply returning. He is scaling up. The next chapter will begin in Japan in January 2027, where the tour will move through 6 cities before traveling to Australia and New Zealand. From there, it will sweep back across Asia, with multiple night stadium runs in Singapore, Bangkok, Kaohsiung, Hong Kong, Manila, and South Korea. For fans, the biggest question may now be whether this is actually the final expansion. The current announcement gives the tour a scheduled endpoint in South Korea on May 26, 2027. But history has already shown that the schedule can change when demand rises. Earlier in the year, the tour expanded repeatedly after its record-breaking ticket sale. The same pattern has now happened internationally. So the real surprise may not be the 26 new shows. It may be what those 26 shows represent. They show that the demand surrounding the Romantic Tour has crossed borders. They show that the audience is not limited to the United States or Europe. And they show that a stadium production built around classic pop showmanship still has the power to generate extraordinary anticipation in markets around the world. For American fans, that makes the story worth watching closely. Because while the cameras are still following the US leg, the next phase is already being built thousands of miles away. The lights will eventually move east. The stadiums will change. The languages will change. The crowds will change. But the central promise of the tour remains the same, a large-scale live experience built around songs designed to be heard, performed, and felt in front of an audience. And after adding 26 new stadium dates, the Romantic Tour is proving that the demand for that experience is nowhere near finished. Bruno Mars has spent years building a reputation as one of pop's most dependable live entertainers. Now, with a tour extending into 2027 and reaching more than 115 stadium performances worldwide, that reputation is being tested on a scale few artists ever attempt. The next show may be in another city. The next record may be waiting in another market. And if the history of this tour is any indication, the next announcement could be even bigger. For now, one thing is clear: the Romantic Tour did not simply get another set of dates. It became a global stadium phenomenon that refuses to stop growing.